A lot is coming out right now, and I can't really make a single video about all of it. So I'm going to make another compiled video, basically of all the new movies that I've seen, or basically the ones that I have something to talk about. Starting with the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I seen in April, so it's been some time, but I just kind of want to talk about this movie because it's not really great. Before going into this movie, I definitely was skeptical because it's Illumination and it's two directors who've never made a full-length feature film, I think. Also, in general, video game adaptations are not really known for being great, and there was one Super Mario Brothers movie which failed completely. Like, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So obviously I had some reasons to be skeptical about it, but to be honest, I want to go in with high hopes because I want to give the people who made this movie a chance, since I think the people who are making a Super Mario Brothers movie should be at least in some way fans of the franchise. So I watched it and I really felt nothing, to be honest. My theory with this movie is that Nintendo looked back on the 90s Super Mario Bros. Movie and realized how big of a failure that was, and so they thought, okay, we need to make a movie that has the least amount of risk involved with it, so we definitely don't have a failure. And so they, of course, reached the one studio that makes some of the most generic and forgettable movies ever, which is Illumination, and made a movie with them. And yeah, that's basically how it turned out, because this is just unmemorable. And I really wanted to like it. I feel like I'm sort of the right audience, but to be honest, the audience of this movie is not really movie fans in general, just Nintendo fans. Because my friend who I watched this with, he was sitting next to me, and I think he realized so many little details about the movie, so many Easter eggs that were put into this film. And I mean, great if he liked it, and great if he enjoyed looking at the screen and searching for Easter eggs. But to be honest, I don't know these Easter eggs. I have played some of the games, obviously. It's kind of inevitable. I love Mario Kart, I love Super Mario DS, but otherwise that's basically it. And so I have to watch this movie as a movie and actually have to concentrate on the plot of the film and on the characters. And when it comes to that, the movie is really just so okay. And the movie is not awful. Some of the characters are really cool. I really enjoy Toad. I really enjoy Peach and her badass attitude in this movie. I really liked how she was portrayed. I loved Bowser in the film, and the one song that he has, it was something great about the film that I thought was interesting. And I kind of wanted more risks like these, like a badass Peach who doesn't have to be saved, and a completely soft Bowser is just, that's great. Why not more of this? Because to be honest, Mario and Luigi are the most uninteresting things about this whole movie. And yeah, to be honest, when I watched this film, I was just sitting there and I realized I wasn't really engaged with anything. I didn't like want to know what was going to happen next. And after I left the movie, I realized, okay, I'm going to instantly forget about this movie and not really think about it ever again. And that's what I did. Yeah, it's just not really that special. And together with the song choices as well, that are just some random popular songs put into the movie in completely unneeded spots that we could have just used some Mario songs maybe. Yeah, this movie just feels like it's trying to appeal to a mass audience that is going to accept this movie and that's going to be happy maybe that we have a Mario movie that's not a complete failure, but honestly, this just is so unmemorable and very unspecial to me. It's just a very surface level movie that works, I guess. The story is fine, but there's nothing really special, nothing really that they risked in this movie, or at least not enough, to be honest. And so I just left this movie feeling nothing and being very disappointed. And yeah, I still give this movie like a 5. But honestly, the more I think about this movie, the more I'm going towards a 4. But I'm just going to leave it at a 5. The next movie I was very excited for, it's Suzume. It's the new movie directed by Makoto Shinkai. He made Your Name, one of my favorite movies ever. He also made Weathering With You, which was a movie that was very similar to Your Name, at least I thought. It was a great fun movie, but I just would have loved if it was a little bit more unique. And this movie is definitely unique. It's not that great, sadly, because it was really just very messy. Honestly, like the first act ended and it felt like the movie was already over because it already took so much time, and after that the movie went in so many different places, and to be honest, I just thought this whole movie was very inconsistent. I really couldn't follow the story very well. Not that it was difficult to understand, but it was just like it just went in so many different places that I really couldn't care anymore. Also, at the center of the movie is this romance basically between two main characters that just felt kind of awkward. There were a lot of great ideas about this film, to be honest. The animation is obviously great. I mean, when has the animation in a Makoto Shinkai movie not been great? There were a lot of great characters, a lot of great humor as well in many different scenes, but because the movie felt so inconsistent, I just felt like when I look at this movie and I think to myself, do I want to watch this movie again? I don't think so. I don't want to watch all the boring moments about this movie just to see the little good moments that I really enjoyed. So it feels kind of sad to rate this movie like this, but yeah, I would also give this movie a 5 probably. Not really what I wanted, but I guess maybe the next one. The next movie is one of my favorite movies of this year so far, and that's The Teacher's Lounge. It's a new German movie, and to be honest, I didn't expect this movie at all. I think I just saw it on the website of my cinema where I was going to, and I looked this up on Letterboxd, saw it was a German movie, and it was well rated, and that just kind of intrigued me. And this movie was definitely very good. It's a movie about a new teacher in a school, and in this school is kind of a problem that a lot of people are stealing, and they don't really know who it is. And so the main character puts matters in her own hands and tries to expose one person who stole from her. And yeah, after that, it's just kind of a series of events that go worse and worse. And it's a great film. It's this kind of movie like Systemspringer, or in English, it's a System Crasher, I think. It's another German movie that kind of portrays a problem that we have right now and that we don't really have an answer to, and it just shows the difficulty of the main characters who try to find a solution for this problem. And in this case, it's dealing with a lot of problems that we have probably in schools. First of all, stealing and how we go about that problem. It's also questioning if it would be a good idea to have constant surveillance on the kids, and there's also a racial problem going on in the school, at least a little bit. It's all of these problems that are kind of addressed, and I really just love this movie. I really love the main character and seeing her wanting to deal with the situation, but it's just kind of too much for her. She's new at the school and she really feels like an outsider. She was a great actress. I'm going to look up her name for a second. Yeah, Leonie Benesch. She's amazing. I loved her in this movie. And yeah, it's this kind of movie that I did not expect to like so much. Walking out of the theater, I was just smiling, and my girlfriend was not knowing what I was smiling about. And she looked at me, "What's the deal? Why are you smiling?" And I was just thinking in my head, wow, this is almost a 10 out of 10 movie. This is so amazing. I really just love this movie. The great thing about this movie is also kind of the ending. I will not spoil it, obviously, but it's a very open ending. And it's, again, like Systemspringer, is not really trying to give you an answer of what we are supposed to do now. It's just, hey, this is a problem. And I just enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a very stressful experience, but a very well-made movie. And yeah, definitely one of my favorite movies of this year so far. I give this a 9 out of 10. This is gonna be a long video. Okay, this next movie is gonna be a little bit quicker. Renfield is a great movie I just watched. This is a new action comedy starring Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult, and also Awkwafina. It's a great movie that has a lot of very fun sequences. To be honest, with these types of movies, they usually are a bit more boring and dull than I would want them to be, but this just kind of fits perfectly. It's very short, it's not too long, and it doesn't get boring, to be honest. And that's, I think, the best thing I could give this movie. It's always so entertaining, always so funny. I really just enjoyed, especially Nicholas Holt's character, Renfield, obviously, is his name. All of these people had so great chemistry. I thought the action sequences were so well choreographed, well filmed. Everything just looked so great. There was a lot of great detail about the costumes in this movie. The colors of this film are so great, and I, to be honest, it was just a very enjoyable, fun, dumb movie with a lot of stupid humor, a lot of brutal scenes, but yeah, just the right balance. Not too much that it gets boring, but also not to the point where I wanted more. Like, I think this movie is exactly how these types of movies should be, and I enjoyed it a lot. I would give Renfield an 8 out of 10. The next movie is kind of, yeah, difficult. I still don't really know what to say about this movie. Beau is Afraid is the new Ari Aster movie, and it's interesting. I think this was the first movie I've ever seen where people just walked out of the theater, and I get it. I'm, to be honest, I get it. I don't know what they expected with this movie, but I don't think they expected this, and it got only worse after that. After they left, it was just more bizarre and more bizarre. And to be honest, in the first maybe hour of the movie, I thought I could figure out this movie. I watched it and kind of thought about, okay, what does this scene mean in the context of this story so far? What could this be? What could this be? But the movie just, again, just got more and more bizarre. And at some point I gave up and I just thought, okay, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to take in everything, and maybe I'm going to figure out this afterwards. And I haven't, definitely. I don't think anyone has. I don't even think Ari Aster has. What I can give this movie definitely is that it was constantly innovative. I always thought everything looked interesting about this movie. Every single shot in this film is in some way so creative, and especially the little animated sequence or the first half of the movie, like every single part of this movie just feels so different from the next scene, and the next scene is different again. It feels so bizarre, but I really enjoyed most of it. I say most of it because, to be honest, the movie got kind of unengaging towards the end, and that's not because I stopped being able to figure out what was happening, but in general I just thought it wasn't as great anymore, and it was getting more and more just weird, just to be weird, which I didn't really enjoy. There was a scene in an attic which was I don't know, man. There was something in that attic which I don't want to explain or spoil, but it was weird. And at this point I just thought, okay, what are we doing? What's this? What are we doing? So my favorite parts of this movie are definitely in the first half, when he was still in his apartment and when he was trying to get into his apartment and I think to his flight. That was basically the best part of the movie. It was hilarious. It was so funny. There were so many bizarre things about this movie, and you couldn't really realize how everything about this is just the most exaggerated version of reality that you can ever see. The next part where they were in this house, also amazing. After that, the movie again just kind of got more and more bizarre, and definitely was interesting, but I wasn't as engaged anymore. And the last part of this movie was just kind of, I remember it being something. It's so difficult to talk about this movie. I don't know what I think about this movie, to be honest. I don't think I will ever figure it out. I appreciate it definitely, but this definitely feels into this letterbox list that I made. It's just a type of movie that I think everybody will have a different opinion about, and so I will give this a good 7 out of 10. But yeah, this can change literally every day. Moving on to my last movie that I've just seen, I think 2 days ago, and that's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I am very happy with this one. Even though I didn't think that the first Spider-Verse movie was perfect, I honestly thought this was such a great achievement, and I really did not know what they could top about it or how they could go bigger and better, but they just did. Like, it was so impressive. Every single sequence in the movie was impressive. The only thing I can take away from this movie is something I don't even know why it is the case, because I genuinely just wasn't as engaged in some of the scenes as I could be, and I don't exactly know why. I watched this movie and I was constantly impressed with every single scene, every single shot. It looked all like a piece of art, but I found myself not always completely engaged with it. That being said, I think this is one of my favorite movie-going experiences ever. The whole theater was talking because everybody was excited about it, and then the lights went out and everybody was just silent, very attentive. And after the movie ended, instantly everybody was talking. Normally it's kind of quiet a little, but with this one everybody instantly started talking. Everybody was excited, everybody was wanting to talk about what just happened. It's definitely an exciting movie, I can give it that. In a way, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's something about the villain or the villains of this movie that changed somewhere in the film, and I really enjoyed that about it too. What I also think is super impressive about this movie is that the main character has kind of a conflict. To be honest, I don't always agree with him. I think he's not making the right choices, but that's okay because he's a protagonist. He can be flawed. That's supposed to be, but I think it was great that you actually had a conflict that you can understand, and where other movies would make me feel very unengaged because the characters are making a stupid decision and I just think, okay, this is stupid, why are they doing this? In this movie I was even more engaged because I just want them to do the right thing so badly. So that definitely means something. If I'm so engaged that I'm still engaged even after something very stupid happens or people make very dumb decisions. In general, this movie is just so well written. It's funny, it's incredibly entertaining, it's so impressive, and I think the animation is literally some of the best animation I've ever seen. And I don't know how anyone could top that. The only movie that I think could top Across the Spider-Verse is the third Spider-Verse movie. And I don't know how they are going to do it, but I think they are going to do it. Don't want to have my hopes so high, but I don't think they are going to fuck this up. I am very skeptical about sequels, and they usually are very risky and can be very disappointing. I just have a lot of trust in the people who made this movie and the first movie that they are not going to fuck up the next movie. So yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, 9 out of 10. Great movie. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think that's enough. This is a long video already. Thank you for watching, and I guess see you in the next video.